Imagination Studio presents SpongeBob Squarepants, Chapter Book 7, SpongeBob Naturepants, by Terry Collins, based on an original teleplay by Pete Burns, Paul Tibbett, and Mark O'Hare. Read for you by Mr. Lawrence. Chapter 1. Another day, another juicy, mouth-watering, char-broiled Krabby Patty. Normally such a sight would make SpongeBob Squarepants beam with pride. Today, all he could do was sigh as he gazed down at the same old patties cooking on top of the same old greasy grill. As head fry cook at the famous Krusty Krab fast food restaurant, SpongeBob spent most of his time behind a hot stove preparing delicious meals for the finny inhabitants of Bikini Bottom. And what did he get in return? Minimum wage and a 10% employee discount. Taking a spatula, he pressed one of the patties down with a sizzle. Until recently, that sound had made his heart fill with joy, for SpongeBob took his job very seriously. But not today. Today, the sizzle sounded like work. Boring old job, boring old life. SpongeBob's eyelids drooped. He yawned, then began to hum a sailor's hornpipe tune while trying to keep himself awake. His mind wandered, and he thought of a life outside the kitchen of the Krusty Krab. A life free of Krabby Patties and responsibilities. SpongeBob looked around the ship-shaped kitchen of the Krusty Krab, and his stare fell on the single porthole that revealed the great green sea outside. SpongeBob's mind wandered. He could choose any path he wished. After all, this was his daydream. He let his mind start to drift. Next stop, ding! The timer went off. Time to turn the Krabby Patties before they burned on the grill. SpongeBob flipped the first patty upward with a twist of his wrist, and the delicious treat spun like a top, hanging in midair over the grill. And then, before his eyes, the same patty magically changed into a light purple and pink jellyfish. The jellyfish hovered, buzzed, and waggled its many long tentacles at SpongeBob. SpongeBob waved back. After turning a trio of loops, the jellyfish swam toward the open porthole, and then disappeared into the great green beyond of the ocean. A chant of, "Join us, SpongeBob," echoed throughout the kitchen. "Who is that?" SpongeBob asked, seeking out the voices. "Where are you?" Pop, 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 poppity pop, pop, pop. SpongeBob looked down at his grill in disbelief as the remaining 8 patties sprang up and turned into a jellyfish. The kitchen was soon filled with their buzzing sounds. The mass of jellyfish bobbed and weaved in tight formation as they swam around the awestruck SpongeBob. Then, one by one, they zipped through the porthole, and SpongeBob was alone again. I wish, SpongeBob said. I wish I were a jellyfish. Just then, SpongeBob began to rise from the floor of the kitchen, his skinny legs dangling beneath his square pants as he floated past the refrigerator. He drifted, turned a full somersault, and then dove through the porthole after his friends. SpongeBob was no more. He was now Jellybob. "Follow me, I know the way," Jellybob said to the group. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Jellybob closed his eyes, drifting to and fro as the current carried him merrily along. He was free at last. "SpongeBob." "Buzz?" "SpongeBob!" Jellybob frowned and closed his eyes even tighter. Who dared interrupt his patrol of the jellyfish fields? "SpongeBob, wake up, boy!" Mr. Krabs cried. "Huh?" SpongeBob asked as he opened his eyes. The jellyfish fields had vanished, along with all of the jellyfish. The gray kitchen was back. The smell of sea reeds was gone, replaced by the scent of smoke in the air. "Snap to, boy!" Mr. Krabs yelled. "You're burning me money!" SpongeBob looked at the grill and found it was covered not in Krabby Patties, but in red and yellow flames and black patties burning to a crisp. Chapter 2. SpongeBob screamed, taking in the sight of the grill in flames. Throwing up his arms in a panic, SpongeBob fled to safety, hiding behind Mr. Krabs' ample back. His jellyfish fantasy was now forgotten, and replaced with the hot reality of a 4-alarm fire. "Mr. Krabs, what'll we do?" SpongeBob asked. "What do you mean, we? This is your show, SpongeBob," Mr. Krabs replied, grabbing a bright red fire extinguisher off the wall and handing it to his employee. "Here, use this." SpongeBob hefted the canister over his head and, with a grunt, hurled it toward the grill. Clunk! The extinguisher bounced off the stove. Before Mr. Krabs could scold SpongeBob, the fire took on a new life, erupting across the top of the stove and covering the counters in hot flames. With a whoosh, the blaze spread, growing in size and power. In a matter of seconds, the scene had gone from being a simple grease fire to a major inferno. The intense heat of the flames caused Mr. Krabs to break out in a sweat, even from across the kitchen. "Hot, hot, hot!" Mr. Krabs shouted. "Ooh, but I hate a fire! Makes me outer shell feel extra crunchy!" SpongeBob looked upon the scene in horror, wincing as the walls began to catch on fire from the blazing grill. Visions of the entire Krusty Krab burning to the ground flashed through SpongeBob's fevered brain. If SpongeBob toasted the restaurant, Mr. Krabs would fire him for sure. One thing was for certain, SpongeBob was no longer bored on the job. "This is my fault," SpongeBob said as he hitched up his SquarePants. There was a determined gleam in his eye. "I'll take care of the problem." SpongeBob approached the blazing grill. Taking a deep breath, he began to huff and puff in an effort to blow out the fire. However, instead of blowing out the flames, his efforts only fanned them into a brighter bonfire. "That's not working, SpongeBob," Mr. Krabs called. "Back off before you get cooked yourself." "Must stop fire," SpongeBob panted, huffing and puffing even harder. "Could I get an order of fries and a chocolate shake to go?" "Holy smoke!" a voice said. Mr. Krabs spun around to find a fireman standing in the doorway of the kitchen. "The kitchen's closed, but I'll give you a 10% discount coupon if you put out that blaze," Mr. Krabs said. "Deal, I'll fetch my hose," the fireman agreed, racing out of the blazing kitchen. "Stand back, SpongeBob," Mr. Krabs called. "Help is on the way." Sploosh! A blast of water shot out toward the burning kitchen, but SpongeBob was standing in the way. As he spun to see what was going on, he caught the water right in the mouth. "Urgle! Gurgle! Blup!" SpongeBob gargled. As the pressure of the hose blasted more and more water into SpongeBob's mouth, his head began to grow. The more water the fireman sprayed, the more SpongeBob's head puffed up like a water balloon at a carnival game. "Move out of the way," Mr. Krabs called. "You're soaking up all the water." SpongeBob began to wobble on his feet. Splat! He splashed heavily on the burning stovetop. With a loud tss, his wet body extinguished the flames. Though it would need a good airing out and fresh wallpaper, the kitchen was saved. "Hooray!" the fireman cried. "Your discount coupon," Mr. Krabs announced, giving the fireman a certificate. "Eat in good health." As the fireman rolled up his hose, Mr. Krabs stepped over to SpongeBob. He was still flat on his back on top of the now cool grill. SpongeBob's head had returned to normal size, although he was covered from head to foot in soot from the burnt Krabby Patties. Mr. Krabs cracked his claws and picked up SpongeBob's drop spatula, using the tool to scrape his slightly dazed employee off the range. "SpongeBob," Mr. Krabs announced as he flipped the spatula over one shoulder. "Come into me office." Chapter 3. "What's wrong, me boy?" Mr. Krabs asked as he gazed across the top of the sea chest he used as a desk. "This isn't like you at all, nearly burning down the place." "Well, I... SpongeBob stammered, his eyes darting around the office. "This is the 4th time this week I've had to scrape you off of something," Mr. Krabs said, waving the spatula. "That's no way to run a kitchen, head fry cook SpongeBob." SpongeBob gazed up at his...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?